Welcome back to episode 3 of the Move Standard podcast. And today is a different type of podcast that I'm really excited to share with you. It is a client case study. So over the next roughly 60 minutes, I'm going to tell the story, or we're going to go through the story of Mr. Jack Jarvis. So Mr. Jack Jarvis is an ex-military person who there's two standout mechanisms of injury in the nearly 10 years I've been a physio, or over 10 years I've been working as a physio, and this is one of them. And I wanted to get this in as early as possible on the podcast because of that reason. And it is mind-blowing, one, how it happened, two, how Jack dealt with it, and then 3, how successful the rehab has been afterwards. And I'm not going to claim that the rehab was so successful because of anything I did or we did at Move. As you'll see when you listen to the interview, so much of Jack's success is down to his mindset, is down to how he's approached his rehab, and how he's just shown up consistently. And there are a huge amount of lessons, as well as one of the craziest stories I have heard from an injury perspective. So I do hope you enjoy it. Please make sure that you listen to it all the way through, because there are so many takeaways. It is unimaginable if you turned it off at part way through. And if you stay to the end, make sure you support Jack with what he's going to do next. It's for a fantastic cause. And again, it will just be an absolutely insane journey and effort. And yeah, it is a crazy story. So enjoy, listen to the end, and make sure you give Jack all the support that he deserves. Mr. Jack Jarvis, welcome to the Move Standard podcast. What the aim of today is to tell probably one of the most, I don't know the word to describe it, the adjective, amazing, ridiculous, mind-blowing stories that has passed through our Pro Recovery and Performance Plan. But first and foremost, Mr. Jack Jarvis, welcome. How are you?
Hey, Al, mate. Good to speak to you again. Really looking forward to this podcast, telling everyone sort of like my story. And I say it's my story. It's sort of our story, mate, because I wouldn't be here without it, without you and without you guys. So yeah, excited.
I appreciate that. I think the people always ask as a physio, like, what's the worst thing you've seen and things like that, or what's the biggest injury you've seen? And there's 3 that come to mind. There was one like horrific when I was working in rugby. There was one when I first started Move, and then I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but then there's yourself. As I showed you before, I've got a little bit of a timeline to work through today for those that are watching the podcast, but I'll let you explain what happened back in May 2023, mate, and I'm sure you will do it justice, because it is miraculous that we're probably here to have this conversation, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was funny that you said what questions you always get asked as a physio, what's the worst thing you've come across, because I actually asked you that question, I remember. Yeah. Anyway, so I was still in the military, still in the army back then in May 2023, and we were out doing continuation jumps, training skydiving jumps. So I was my 26th jump, exited the aircraft at 14,000 feet, and you free fall for about a minute, and all was going to plan. My friend and Dean were doing like maneuvers, basically where you manipulate your body to control your speed of descent, what formation you fall in. And then when I went to deploy my parachute at around 4,000 feet, that's when things went, really, really wrong. So as I deployed, the pilot chute wrapped around my leg and flipped me upside down. So now, instead of being under the canopy of my parachute, and with legs towards the ground, I was now head towards the ground, and my leg had been sort of like really graunched up in front of me and was tangled in the lines. And just to sort of give people an idea of how much force went through my knee, you fall at around about 120 miles an hour in free fall. I weigh 90 kilos. So you can just, really sort of imagine the tension, the speed at which those lines rip up and your parachute deploys, and my knee was entangled in that. As you'd imagine, loud cracks and snaps. Didn't know it at the time, but could make a reasonable assumption. I knew that was my ligaments. And then my foot, my leg was in front of my face, and my foot and patella, my kneecap, were at 108 degrees to each other. Again, didn't know how bad it was, but you don't have to be a physio with 10 years experience now. I knew I was, insert expletive.
Mate, you can swear, don't worry.
Yeah, I knew I was fucked. The more pressing problem, I had to untangle my leg from the lines in order to make sure I didn't land head first. I wasn't falling at 120 miles an hour at this point, probably 50, because my parachute hadn't deployed fully. So I'm pulling up the lines, big pull, leg flops out, obviously in horrendous pain. I often get asked, "Oh, did you feel pain, or was it just pure adrenaline?" I said, "No, there was pure adrenaline, but I felt every tug of those lines as my leg was tangled in." Then it was about 2,000 feet, but my luck was starting to improve. My parachute had inflated, and then had to take control of my parachute and land it one-legged. Then I'm starting to think, oh God, imagine if I break my ankle as well on the other leg. That would really complete the set. But luckily I didn't. Landed pretty accurately. It was probably one of my most accurate landings ever. And then I was on the floor. And because it was quite a controlled landing, my friend Scotty sort of just looked over and was like, "Why is Jack laying on the floor?" And I was like, "Scotty, help." He come over, and I remember he ran over and he just went, "Oh shit." And you can see what he was greeted with, my leg and me in absolute agony. So yeah, that is a long story long. That's what happened to my leg.
To be honest, mate, I thought that was the short abridged version. I think it's that ridiculous and unthinkable. It's like, I've got so many questions. I think
fire away, mate.
No, mate, it's just where to start. And I think, like, obviously you knew your knee was fucked. Let's not use any other language, but you kind of must have gone into self-preservation, because if you're not getting your knee out or you're not untangling the lines, I presume you're brown bread.
Yeah, or paralysed. And
yeah,
it's a very strange moment. Luckily, touch wood, I never have that sort of moment again.
Yeah,
because it feels like it lasts for minutes, but it would have lasted for seconds. And everything sort of goes through your head, and it's not, sorry, your life doesn't flash before your eyes, not at all, but you just know, or I just knew exactly what was going to happen if I didn't get my leg out. Like, I was like, and I remember saying in my head, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. And I was just pulling ferociously at the lines to try and get my leg out, because, okay, maybe I wouldn't have landed head first, but I would have landed back first. And, even though you're in that fight or flight thing, I was like, if that happens, I'll be paralyzed.
Yeah.
That really would have been a downer. So yeah, just pulling up my lines. And then, like I said, the leg comes out, and it's even though I had to fly my parachute, I pulled my lines. Luckily, it hadn't been damaged. The brakes worked. It steered. I was looking down at my knee in agony, and I knew, I didn't know, but I could guess how bad the injury was.
Yeah.
Having big sport, like, love me sport, whether it's football, rugby, MMA, boxing, cricket, I love it. And I knew straight away, I was like, a lot of players never come back from an ACL injury. My kneecap had been at 180 degrees to my foot. Like, I knew I'd done some serious damage to it. So even when I'm in the sky,
you're thinking that,
I'm thinking that already. You probably have a minute of under canopy from 2,000 to 2,000 feet to the ground, or maybe 40 seconds or something. And I was obviously focusing on the task at hand. Like I said, my most accurate landing, because I couldn't wrap my tits in and just feel sorry for myself, because I knew if I'd have landed in a field, it's just harder for then the ambulance to come, the air ambulance, the lads to come in. So yeah, really, really nice, accurate landing near the drop zone. So yeah, it was. But it's funny that even though that's what I had to focus on, I was still already thinking about, like, my injury and how bad the damage to my knee was.
it's so interesting because, like, obviously we help hundreds, thousands of people over the last sort of 5-6 years, and it's always the same story of people talk about what they've lost. It's almost like a grieving process, like how their identity has changed. And it's amazing from my perspective to think that you were thinking that in those 40 seconds after you've had all this adrenaline rush and this panic. Like, there's almost that sense of calm where even in 40 seconds, all of that has gone through your head.
Yeah. Really hard. And 'cause at the time I was like 29, and we'll speak about some of the stuff I've done in the past, I'm sure, and what I've got coming up. I love those big, punchy endurance events. And like you said, Al, it's a part of your identity. A huge part of my identity is being physically fit and strong, getting after it. So yeah, I was really worried and already thinking about that. And it's funny though, you say about calm, but if that skydive had gone to plan, it's exactly the same. You have the high intensity of the free fall. You do 10,000 feet in a minute, and then your parachute opens, and then it is that calm. So like you said, you have those seconds of calm after the high intensity, and especially what just happened to me, a big adrenaline dump probably, because I knew I still had to land my parachute, but I knew I would live at that point. So yeah, just started already thinking about the rehab and what I had coming up, the next sort of challenge that I had to overcome.
And as you, I've got so many questions. When you've landed and you're laid there and you've shouted help, help, help. So the people that had jumped with you, they had no idea all of this was happening up there. So they were sort of ahead of you in the fall, and you wouldn't look up and check back on your colleagues, your friends.
No. So, because I was a relatively new, that was my 26th solo jump.
Yeah.
Basically, everyone I was jumping with pretty much would have either been on the same canopy as me or a smaller canopy. So a smaller canopy, Alex, you fall quicker once it's deployed. The more jumps you have, you're allowed to jump a smaller canopy because you're more experienced. So everyone was pretty much on the deck already. No one, unless the spot, they have a spotter to make sure, but 15 people will go up in the plane. And that spot was basically just making sure that he'll count everyone in. But unless he was watching me at the specific moment, I deploy my parachute. And even then, he's only got a small telescope. So yeah, no one knew what was happening to me.
You're almost, from the spotter looking down, you're hidden because of the canopy as well. So even above.
No, the spotter's looking up. So the spotter's on the floor.
Right, sorry.
Yeah, he's just making sure 50, he knows how many people are in the plane, 15 people. He obviously counts them as they land. It's just like a sort of a second safety barrier, because when you land, you come and check in at the drop zone HQ so they know you aren't, you haven't been caught by a gust of wind and you're 10 miles away.
Yeah.
So I was completely alone. No one had a clue until I shouted help that something had gone wrong.
That's amazing. It's just, like you obviously, you must have felt so almost isolated in that as well. And not that anyone could probably have helped you anyway, but it's just like even a sense of someone knowing what was going on around you and maybe being able to have things ready a little bit quicker at the bottom or something like that.
Yeah, well, very alone. And, it's like the same that I love. No one's coming to save you in life.
Yeah.
If you're not happy with the trajectory of your life, only you can fix it. And it's to the extreme in that sense. Like, no one was coming to save me. There was nothing, like, they can't. Yeah, you are completely alone. And that's probably why I was so ferocious, like in trying to get my leg out, and then equally that elation when the leg did come out.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I bet. And I think if I remember back, obviously it was 3 years ago now, the context of that jump, you were already considering transitioning out of the military at that moment in time. And is that right?
Even worse, Alex. That was literally my last week.
Yes, I thought it was.
Yeah, my last week in uniform. And I'm going to shout out the army. because a lot of lads slag it off, but they really looked after me. They allowed me to rejoin, keep me in. So I was at home on full pay. And then when I went back to work, after 4 months off, I was put in the rehab section, managing trainees that had come off course with injury. So I was able to do my job, deliver an effect for the army, but as well, it allowed me the perfect opportunity to do my rehab, because when I was taking my trainees to the physiotherapy centre or camp, I could then go do my own rehab and so things like that. So yeah, went to like an office-based role, which that is. So yeah, was very lucky. Yeah, but that was literally my last week in uniform was that week.
Wow. And what were you preparing to go and do?
I was going to pursue like more challenges. It was actually pretty crazy. I was due to go on a TV show called Survivor. In fact, I was actually we'll cut that. I was actually due to go on a TV show called Love Island. I don't know if you've heard of it. Yes, I was going to pursue a career in more extreme challenges.
Create a profile and a platform for yourself.
Exactly. I mean, hopefully I've done that now, not with the TV show, and we'll talk about it, the second row and what I'm planning to do. But yeah, that's what I was. That was the next step, next chapter in my life.
Definitely.
But hey, life loves to throw a curveball at you, doesn't it?
It does, mate. It does. And I loved how you said that no one's coming to help you. And I think it's almost like a perfect reminder of like the extreme end of it. You're falling 120 miles an hour and this happened. And you do have to look after yourself, and you do have to, I guess, build physical, mental, resilience skills, qualities that give you the capacity to do that. And then obviously it's only amplified and supported by the people around you and the circle that you surround yourself with. So
yeah, well, it's very similar to you, mate. Like when COVID happened and you were obviously working for Leeds,
and
you were like, oh, right, what's going to happen here? Like
I need to take control.
Yeah, exactly.
So this happens beginning of May. I couldn't find the exact date. You might remember the exact date.
Yep, 17th of May 2023.
17th of May. And then timeline-wise, we started working together 29th of May. But in between there was a consultation with a surgeon, wasn't there? What happened between injury happening and that consultation? And can you describe a bit about where your head was at and how you were feeling?
Yeah, obviously gutted, as you can imagine. And then I was taken into A&E, and this was on the day of the accident. I remember one of the doctors, right? So obviously they're all rushing around. They're like, because they straight away, skydiving accident, they're like paralyzed. And that's it's just like, no, guys, I'm not paralyzed. Like, yes, I had a skydiving accident, but my injury happened in the sky. I landed fine. So they're all rushing around, and then I remember it was a hot day, and I remember being really thirsty, and because they think you might go into surgery, they were literally just giving me this like sponge on a cotton bud. They were like, suck that. I was like, please, don't want to have a glass of water.
Just a sip.
Yeah, literally just sucking like water out of this bloody sponge. So yeah, that happened. And then I remember a doctor come in, and I don't really know why he said this to me. And maybe it's because when the air ambulance came and the doctor on the air ambulance, they dosed me up with a large dose of ketamine. So maybe this was a mirage, Al, and this never happened, but I'm sure it did. This doctor came in and he said, yeah, this is a pretty bad injury, mate. And I was just remember thinking, I know. He was like, might never play sport again, might never run again. Your gait might be off. You might have a little bit of a limp. That's worst case.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking, and then obviously left. And I remember just thinking, like, what a time to tell someone that. I mean, that could have waited a couple of hours, just for the dust to settle.
Just tell me everything will be all right.
Yeah. Just lie to me. Just for now. For now. And then, I think I had a little cry. And I remember just thinking, after that, I was just all right, come on, mate. You're 29. This can't be it. This can't, we're going to come back. We're going to make a comeback. And I was just saying that in my head. Then my mum came, and then she was fine. Oh, no, sorry, phoned my mum. And then it was actually my mum started crying. I said, Mum, stop crying. Like, I don't need you to cry right now. Like, you're fine. I don't need that right now. And that like snapped me out of my sort of, I was like, Mum, I need you to be strong now. Like, I need your help. I don't need like your sympathy.
Yeah.
And that snapped me out of it. And then spent 2 days in the hospital. Big thank you to all the nurses and the doctors at Salisbury District Hospital. They were fantastic. And then, then got taken home. Dad come and pick me up. And then again, I was just like trying to process it all. And the doctor, and this is actually credit to the doctor and credit to yourself, Al. So obviously had my consultation, had my MRI the day after the accident. And
do you mind if I just butt in here?
Yeah.
Or for anyone watching, the conclusion is on screen, and I'm sure you don't mind me sharing this. It's
yeah.
It's basically a bomber's gone off in your knee and there's nothing left. The thing that I find really funny is appearances are in keeping with a partial thickness injury to the ACL and PCL, but everything else has pretty much disappeared. And I think like we'll touch on the op in a second, but it was like, how did you feel when you got that news, like the actual diagnosis side of it?
Yeah, because it's obviously and you will know, and I'm sure you'll talk from your area of expertise. A lot of it for me like went over my head, but like I said, I love my sport, right? And he explained it. The doctor explained it. He said, right, you've got 4 major ligaments in your knee. I was like, sweet. And everyone's heard of your ACL, haven't they?
Yeah.
That's like the big one. But you've also got your MCL, PCL, and reading it, and I was just like that, Jesus. But the reason I say credit to you and credit to the doctor is I said, Doc, come on, will I be able to run again? And he went, with pretty much pretty confidently went, yeah, I'd say, mate, you got about 70%, 60% chance of like making a full recovery. And then when I spoke to you, Al, I said, come on, mate, like, just be honest with me now. Like, will I get back to running? And you straight away went, yeah, I think you might come back, mate. I think you can. So that really just, I knew it was bad. Like I said, you don't need a lot of medical experience to read all that and to know how bad. Yeah, it's terrible. Like, it's not even a little bit good. But when when an expert like you and the doctor said, yeah, I think you make a comeback, mate. Like, and it wasn't like a bullshit. Yeah, no, well, we'll see how we go, mate. And you might, in 2-3 years, we'll see. But yeah, you both went, yeah, I think you make a comeback. And then after that, mate, I was like, right, well, if these two think I can do it, I'm going to listen to them and I'm going to bloody do it. I'm not going to let them down, am I? And that's sort of how my mindset was. Like, once I had the consultation with the doctor and had the consultation with you, mate.
Did you? I guess one of the challenges that other people we work with, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. It's like, did you just wholeheartedly believe the consultant and the conversation with me, or was there still any elements of doubt in the back of your mind? And how did sort of you process that?
To be fair, I fully believed both of you.
Yeah.
It probably helped that you both said the same thing.
Yeah.
There was maybe let's say a 5% chance. It actually annoyed me more when people like my dad and like that were like, oh, you'll make a full comeback. And I was like, yeah, but what do you know, Dad? Like, you're a firefighter and a painter and decorator. Like, I love you, but I'm going to listen to Alex and Dr. Vaishnavanas. Like they actually know what they're talking about. So yeah, I maybe a tiny bit of self-doubt. I 100% believed you, believed the doctor. And I think that helped with my rehab, because if you go into a situation, I don't know if you ever did a lot of lessons in the military, right? Instructors go, right, sorry, gents, but this is a pretty boring subject, but I've got to cover it. Straight away, if you say that at the start of a lesson, all the people you're teaching are going to switch off. And I think it's maybe the same with rehab. Like, if you're there, like, oh, I'm not going to make a comeback, you're probably not going to fully put the effort into your exercises, or you might miss the odd session, or you might do X, Y, Z. But if you believe you're going to make a comeback, it's going to affect everything. It's going to push you in the right direction. So yeah, that's sort of where I was at.
100%. I think there's two bits to it. You highlighted the word believe, and one of my favorite quotes is, whatever the mind can believe and conceive, it can achieve.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not like a a philosophical person, but I do believe that there is like the energy that you put out there, and whether it's to do with like the reticular activating system, if you're familiar with that, so that's like our innate drive to find shelter, to take care of basic needs, like find shelter, find food, etc., find warmth. But like now, an easy way that I use to explain it to people is like, okay, I want a Ford Ranger pickup, and then when you're driving along, you see all the Ford Ranger pickups that go past you because it's what you want, and it's that same thing of like. From as a business has moved, one of the things I try and instill in my team, to instill in all of our clients, is expanding people's vision beyond like just it being okay and it getting pain free. It's like, right, we're going to get to this stage, and don't sugarcoat it. It will be hard. There'll be challenges. There'll be speed bumps. We'll have to reroute at times. We might have to take a step back to move forwards. But for me, it's like, there hasn't been a case where I go, we're not going to be able to do that. And if we can set the goalposts there, and we'll just find a way to get there, it might take 20 weeks, it might take 24 weeks, it might take 52 weeks, but there's always a way, in my opinion.
Yeah, always. I love that as well. Like, you got to have a can-do attitude. I always say, I used to say to my trainees, be an American, not an American.
Yeah.
You know, I hate that when people say, oh, sorry, mate, it can't be done. Well, why can't it be done? Why don't we say, right, how can it be done? So, yeah.
Absolutely. It's just that reframe. So 29th of May, we started working together. So this is still pre-op, but obviously I remember the conversation with you. It was like, right, let's do everything we possibly can so that you go into the op in the best possible position. And we just started, we obviously did plenty of like low-level rehab stuff and trying to get your knee to calm down because it was massive. I remember at the time.
Yeah.
It's like, right, go on.
I was going to say, I'll send you a photo. So if people want to see how big it was, imagine a kebab shop. And imagine the kebab on the spit. That's just what my leg looked like. No definition, just this tubular of swelled meat.
Tell you what, let me add this and this. So this was pre-op, actually. I forgot to add this to it. So this was the first week we worked together. And I got, do you remember me getting you to take circumferences?
Yeah.
And this image here was the first one. And then this image was the second measurement. They were 5 days apart. And for reference, 2 centimeters above your kneecap on your left side was 47 centimeters round. And the norm for you, which was your right side, was just shy of 43 centimeters. Like, if I could put that into reality for people, it is absolutely mind-blowingly different. If you've got an image, mate, you can sort of see on this the post-op image and like just how thick it is. But
that's the day of the injury.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. That's the day of the injury.
Let me move that over here then. I thought that was a post-op image when I was going through the photos.
All good, mate.
Look how happy you are.
Oh, mate, yeah, happy to be alive, mate.
Yeah.
Happy to be alive.
I bet. But yeah, it's like, and I think like one of the reasons that you did so well in the journey is, and I was chatting to Josh, obviously Josh worked with you for a large part of it as well. And it was like, you were so diligent in everything we asked you to do that 4 days later, because of the compression, ice, elevation, the way that you'd looked after your knee, you'd lost 3 centimeters worth of swelling, which is huge, but like the carryover into how your knee will feel, how it'll move, the way that your muscles will activate and respond around it is massive. So 29th of May, I guess like what made you decide to work with me, with Move, to do it online? Obviously that's a bit different. What were the things that made you decide to do that?
Well, you're an absolute ambulance chaser, mate, and I barely even hit the deck, and I'd already had 6 DMs, a carrier pigeon, and a phone call. No, I'm joking. So obviously we've known each other for not like best mates, but obviously knew what you do through like the Clivero lot, etc.
Yeah.
We followed you for a while, and it's interesting for me because being in the military, my rehab would have been so much better than most. And it wouldn't have cost me a penny. You know, we have an ERI at camp, so a rehabilitation instructor that's just specializes in that. We have Headley Court, you have Stamford, you have places where you can go for 3 weeks and you just do rehab for 3 weeks. That is your job. You don't do, you don't take a laptop, anything like that. But the reason I reached out to move is because I didn't want to be 2-3 years down the line and think, what if? And be like, I could be fitter, I could be stronger, I could be running by now. I didn't want to leave any stone unturned. And if I got 3 years down the line and I hadn't got back to running, I'll have known I've given it everything. But if I'd sat on my arse for 6 months, then maybe had a physio for a month, I just did not want to have any regrets with my rehab. So that's why I reached out, really.
Nice. I remember. Did you put it on your story? I can't remember where I saw it.
You
quite quickly. Quite
Yeah.
quickly you put it there, and I was like, mind blown about what had happened. And I was like, right, if I can help, I'd love to help. And it was like, and then you told me about what had happened. I was like, wow, like this is something different. But again, like I just go back to like I'm a very process oriented person. I was like, right, well, like we get his knee healthy and then we just rebuild off the back of that and whatever that journey looks like. And it was one that I was excited about being part of as well. So it's
no, it wasn't. It's cool because I remember because it's just like social media now. Like obviously that happened to me, so I just put that up on like Instagram. I remember you commented, you were like, "Mate, if you need a hand or you want any advice, just give me a message." And I said, "Don't worry, mate. I've already DM'd you or something like that. I'll go back." But yeah, man. Your experience, mate, working at Leeds. I know you probably never dealt with anyone that had a skydiving accident, but I bet there was pretty nasty injuries. That
mate, one of my favourite things to tell people, to put it into context, when they moan about athletes and especially like rugby players, it's like in rugby league, every collision is the same G-force or around the same G-force as a 30-mile-per-hour car crash.
Yeah,
and it's just like obviously you had a slightly faster car crash or aerial crash, but it was like you just learn to deal with catastrophic injuries and like people that are prepared to push through them. And obviously I'll put you in that category as well. And again, going back to what I asked Josh earlier of why he thought you were successful, and it was because you understood your body, but you also understood how to train, how to push yourself, and how to do hard things, because ultimately rehab is hard, irregardless of what the injury is and what the goal is. Rehab is hard and it is shit. Yeah. And it's sucking that up a little bit and doing it.
Yeah. And Alex, you've hit the nail on the head. Like everyone loves going to the gym, mate, and throwing tin around or sending like a best effort run, like on the like for a marathon, 5K, whatever, like the stuff you can brag about on social media or on Strava, etc. Mm-hmm. You can't brag about a 30-second long hamstring lever ISO hold.
Well, you could do after what had happened to you.
Sorry, yes, of course. You've got to celebrate those wins. But,
exactly, yeah.
And it's just, again, reframe.
It's not getting you a viral piece of content. Let's put it that way, is it?
There we go. Perfect.
In the modern world. So, 3rd of July, fast forwarding, you had your off. Do you remember exactly what you had done?
Yeah. So the MRIs, from what I can remember, the MRI give you a picture, but it doesn't give you the full picture. And I remember the doc saying to me, was like, we won't really know once we get in there. And before the op, they say, look, these are what they have you have an appointment before your op and basically talk through all the risks, and you basically sign that you're happy. And, the doctor, I said, if I don't have this surgery, doctor, will I be able to run again? He was like, no. I was like, sweet, so we're having it. Doesn't matter what the risks are.
Yeah.
Just go for it. Do your best. And he was really concerned about my tattoo. Bless him. And he was like, I'll try my best to keep it. I said, doctor,
it's a very extensive leg sleeve, isn't it? For people who haven't seen it before.
Yeah. So, and I just remember saying to him, I was like, doc, I don't give an F about that tattoo as long as the innards work. Like, if you have to ruin it to make sure the insides work, that is fine. Anyway, so I have the op, and my MCL and PCL had to be replaced. So they were synthetic, man-made ligaments.
Mm-hmm.
He repaired my ACL,
Yeah.
and then he repaired my meniscus as well. Well, where the tear was in the meniscus was on the end. So what he did was he just cut that bit away, rather than trying to sew it, because he was like, he said it's better just cut that bit away. You've still got enough meniscus left, to not have any issues.
Yeah. And with the ACL repair, they took a hamstring graft, or was it a quad tendon?
I want to hamstring graft.
Yeah, it was.
I think.
I thought it was, yeah, because obviously that played into what our rehab looked like. So, yeah, and again, obviously you didn't know that, what the extent of it was going to be until you woke up, and I guess, and 30 minutes, 60 minutes after he'll have come round and told you what he'd done. Where was your head at then?
Funny you say 30, 60, because when you get knocked out through general anaesthetic, you don't have a clue what's going on. You're awake, you're asleep. And he could have come 30 minutes an hour, but it felt like he literally spoke to me the second I woke up, because I remember he left and I was just like, what has he just said? And then, your throat's really sore because they put an oral pharyngeal in to keep your airways open, so they give you some ice cream. And I just remember this old woman, bless her, in like the intensive care unit, just gobbing up. She was like, "You don't live here. Where's my friend?" And I remember just thinking, "Oh my God." But yeah, like I felt positive, because I remember roughly what the doctor said. He said, "Yeah, really happy with how it went. Everything was executed well. I'm happy." I can't remember if he showed me a video then, or if he showed me a video when I went for my checkup. But yeah, just like showed him working the knee, and he was like, "Look at that," which is quite a funny thing to watch, because it's your leg, it's you, it's you, but you're like, I have no recollection of that, and of course you don't, because you're knocked out. So that was So yeah, I was feeling good, mate, feeling positive. Surgery, and then I knew it was just right time to put the work in, really.
I think it's probably testament to the surgeon. Sorry, I've forgotten his name, Mr. Ferv. I remember.
It's great, and it get you like top points on Scrabble. Yeah, it would get you top points on Scrabble.
Absolutely, and I guess it's testament from my perspective, like the relationship you had with him and the confidence that you had in him, and that's a huge starting point for just the whole process, rather than you having that doubt, like you touched on earlier. You were just fully confident in the people that were supporting you. And I guess one of the lessons I would encourage people to take if they're listening to this, and potentially in similar situations, whether it's this type of injury or another body part, is if you're not confident in the surgeon, then shop around and like get a second opinion. And obviously you're not going to be able to put yourself in that place, but if you had any element of doubt in him, and then you're waking up and he's telling you all that, how overwhelming it'd have felt, and it's just it's sort of everything just ticked the box for you. And I think even with a catastrophic injury like you had, every bit of it afterwards has been so positive.
Yeah, and it's because I did think about trying to go private. Obviously spoke to you. You're like, this guy's really good. And I remember actually speaking to the doctor. Has like I don't want to call her an assistant, because she's like a physiotherapy a physio in her own right. But she sort of helps him. And I said, and she was like, don't worry. Like, because as well, I was thinking, I was like, Salisbury District Hospital. It's not the hub. Like, you don't think it's the hub for
knees,
like a real knee surgeon to work. But yeah, she was like, look, don't worry. He is top notch. Like really safe hands. And I was just like, you know what? Let's do it. And he was like mega, really nice guy as well, which helps. So yeah, went with him. Very happy I went for him. I actually need to email him. This has reminded me just to send him something and say, thank you. What you did worked.
I think I would encourage you to do that, because I just think yes, he said you would run, but I don't believe he'd have probably thought you'd have done everything that you've done.
Yeah, probably
Which
not.
is,
Probably just thought,
yeah.
yeah.
So fast forwarding, obviously you've had the op, you're in the brace.
Yeah.
I remember how frustrating you found the brace, but very quickly you were back in the gym.
Yeah.
I was going through our plan this morning and just getting some of the touch points, but it was like comments like, "Love being back in the gym, but frustrated at how long it's taking me to set everything up."
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
how any advice for someone that's in a similar situation where they want to get back in the gym and obviously they're in the brace and partial non-weight bearing? Any golden nuggets?
It is frustrating. It is annoying. If you can go at a quieter time, because sort of like hobbling around the gym. Gyms aren't the most accessible places, especially if you're on crutches, etc. But yeah, just if you can go at a quieter time, do it. And
You were
just
going
try.
on your own though, weren't you? You weren't going with like it wasn't a friend helping you or anything like that.
No, no, sorry. At the start, so I was because my friend said, "God, as if you're still going to the gym at 6 a.m. Like you've got all day, you're off work." But
Yeah.
at the start, when I couldn't drive, yeah, my mate would take me, but obviously he'd do his own stuff. So, yeah, and just try and again, we've said it a couple of times in this call. Reframe. Yes, it's not ideal. Yes, you're not throwing loads of tin around, but just be grateful that you're there.
Yeah.
And we're quite bad at that in our society. We're always wanting more, how much is enough, etc. Just be grateful you're there. And because it could have been very, very different for me, for sure.
Definitely. And I've touched on the timeline. We had a slow start. We want the knee to be the priority and to be healthy within that first sort of 4 to 6 week period. But I remember we had sort of really distinct conversations about what other goals you had, and you had goals around like bench press strength, like chin up strength, and things like that. And I think that obviously does help as well in terms of giving you something to strive for without it being too much pressure on it as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that, keeps the, I'm struggling for the terminology. Motivation. Yeah. Yes, you can't, go around and do a 5K running PB with a knee injury, but, it's not affected, any of your, shoulder press, bench press, and things like that.
You were seated ski erg, weren't you? And it was like
seated ski ergs. Yeah. Enjoyed that.
Remember that? Yeah. Arms on the air bike, and
you just got to get amongst it, really. I mean, like I said, you can sit around and think about all the things you can't do, but why don't you sit around and think about all the things you can do? And you do have to check yourself. Like, you're allowed to be gutted, you're allowed to be stressed, you're allowed to be frustrated, but don't just sit there and wallow in it all day. I'd have a good moan, as we all do, but then just go, right, I've had my moan. Yes, it's crap, but I can do X, Y, and Z.
Definitely. And so we get it back in the gym. We're moving through the process, and obviously progressively you're able to do a bit more. And I think it was about week 6 you started doing some air squats, and then obviously continuously on a week by week basis we're testing things until week 14, when we just started to slowly drip feed some plyometrics in. And then at week 17, we did your first run, which, and again, like I say, I touched on it with Josh earlier. We just, because of the nature of the injury, and it wasn't like we had to rush anything, we just went really slow with everything, to make sure we weren't having any adverse reaction, and maybe did like, whereas a normal ACL, we might do 1,000 plyometric contacts. We did 1,500, and to make sure you were sort of really earning the right and exaggerating that. And that first run back was 30 seconds on and 30 seconds off.
Yeah.
How did that sort of period feel? So like the introduction of plyometrics again, and then that first running session?
Mate, when I think back to my rehab, like, I'm going to speak about it more generally, but, with that first sort of 12 weeks was that? Yeah. Mate, I enjoyed it. Like, and it's enjoyable building up and going from, your holds, etc. And then doing a bit of plyometrics, whether that just be, your hops, or what's the other one where you step offs?
Yeah, like your altitude drops and
Yeah,
bits like that.
all
Yeah.
I genuinely enjoyed it, and it feels like you're making progress. And I remember that run. It was first thing in the morning because obviously I had to go out. The gym wasn't open, so I was a little bit naughty. I had to do it outside, but it felt clunky. It felt because as well, I was like a decent runner before,
Yeah.
so I know what a good run feels like, and it felt clunky and awkward, but it was like nice to get back out and the perfect amount as well. Like I didn't want to take the piss. I think I might have done like maybe 9 minutes or something, just added an extra minute.
You've told us that, but that's fine.
I've got to tell a story. So I don't know if you remember this, but I'm pretty sure it was Josh. Right, so basically, a friend of mine, he's a real good ultra runner, and he's a madman, right?
Yeah.
And he'd been asking me for months, like, Jack, come out. I said, mate, I can't. I'm injured. And then it was around. So I had a 7K on the program, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know when this would have been. Maybe week
Well,
8.
well, no. So for context, at 20, so you started return to run at like really low volume at 17 weeks. We did some more testing at 22 weeks. And like at the reason I put this in is it probably highlights why you've done so well because of the base that you built. And again, the people that are watching it can see the numbers on the screen, like they're way above what we'd want. And then it wasn't until 27 weeks that you did your first 5K.
Yeah.
That you logged with us, and you were in Luxembourg. I don't know if you remember that. Around Park Need. I can't pronounce it, but I had to Google it before to confirm where it was. But yeah, first 5K was in Luxembourg.
And there you go, 27 weeks. So
yeah,
would have been after this. My mate asked me, and I said, "Look, okay, mate." I said, "Look, I've got the all clear. I can only do 7K.
Yeah."
Will that be all right? I said, I'll maybe push it to like 10, but that is my absolute limit. It's like, mate, don't worry. Come with me, meet me here, 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, right? So I go there, 5:30, my mate comes. We've got both got like alpha flies on, right? I'm like, oh, where's Sam? And this is what I mean when it's mad about it. Oh, he went out at 3 in the morning to do a 30K. He's meeting us here at 5:30. So just to so then he met us after being out for like 3.5 hours, and we're running pitch black. Me and my best mate don't have a head torch. It's like slippy. I'm like, mate, like bear in mind, I've never been here before. It's like 30 minutes away from where I live, and we started getting. I was like, mate, we're at sort of 8K here, mate. Like, are we nearly back home? He's like, yeah, it's just around the corner. 14K later, I was fine, which was obviously a good thing.
Yeah.
And I remember I told Josh didn't speak to me for 3 days. Gonna move. And then I got this really passive aggressive text. He was like, Jack, I'm all for you pushing yourself, but don't take the piss. And I was like, Josh, I'm sorry. Listen, but you've got to explain. I didn't mean to do that. I was hoodwinked.
That's accountability for you. That's part of the process. Accountability, support. But it doesn't surprise me, mate. It doesn't surprise me.
But the thing is, I honestly didn't mean it because as well, like, I didn't want to be this, because you see it all the time, like hustle mindset, grind. God, I've been told, the doctor said it'd be 12 months till I'm running again. So I'm going to run a marathon in a month, and I just think, you look at people like Ronnie Coleman, who's the other guy? Flanker, big on social media, England player, rugby. Is it Haskell? James Haskell?
James Haskell, yeah.
James Haskell, you look at James Haskell, you look at Ronnie Coleman, they've got to their later on in their life and their bodies are mullered, especially Ronnie Coleman, and you think that's probably from just not listening to your body, not listening to physios, and just thinking, I'm going to be this macho man that doesn't need to do it. So that's why I apologize. And I said, mate, I did not mean to do that, Josh. I was kidnapped against my will. So yeah, but yeah, that was like a funny story from my rehab journey.
It happens, and like the good thing is you didn't have a sort of a setback or an adverse reaction, and some people will dip the toe in and skip steps that they haven't earned the right to do, and that's when they get burned, and it's a lesson learned. So we've got a picture here, mate, from Governor's Harbour. Is that Thailand?
No, the Bahamas.
That's when you're in the Bahamas. Nice little move T-shirt, and you wrote the 5K was on the 27th of January, That's not 2026. It will have been 2024. And then on the 12th of March, those 5K shakeouts are getting more enjoyable. Who would have thought it? Following a well thought out, thorough rehab plan and bothering your ass to do every session actually works. Mate,
Yeah.
and again, mate, like when I said to Josh earlier, what do you think was one of the defining factors in the journey? And it was actually like showing up consistently and doing the things that you said you would do. It's not hard. Yeah. It's a very simple process, but sadly, simple things can be hard.
Yeah, I mean, to me, and just the way I'm wired, Al, like you're the expert here. Like there's too many experts in the world nowadays that think they know a subject far more than they actually do, and they just believe that because they've watched a TikTok, you know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had a complete trust in you, and everything you said I was going to do because like I said, I didn't want to leave a stone unturned. And come March, that was a bit of a curveball as well, because obviously we were gearing up to go to running, and I said to Josh, I was like, lads, I might need to rescue an ocean rowing boat from the Bahamas and row it 250 nautical miles to America. Yeah. Do you think we can do it? And you boys were like, yeah, I think we can. If anything, that probably suited the rehab more because it's like no impact. So yeah, it was just a match made in heaven.
It was perfect, mate. Just what you want in a rehab journey is a ridiculous flight and then a ridiculous row, and then But I guess it just fits the nature of this whole journey and this whole story. Yeah. So the next bit I found very difficult because I was like, right, I want to showcase all of your hard work and all of the things that you've done, and we'll come on to what you're going to do, and hopefully people can be really supportive of that, and you can get the recognition it's going to deserve. But some of the key things that I picked out, just again scrolling through your Instagram and key sort of points in time. So 7th of August 2024 was the Big Feet Ultra. I don't know if you remember that. How far was that one?
It was actually just shy of an ultra, because it was just shy of them. The problem is the Big Feet Ultra, because they do on the same day they do a 50 miler, but me and my best mate did a 20 miler on that day. But yeah, that was
it's nothing. It's obviously nothing if it's only 20 miles. So
only 20 miles. What's the point?
I guess compare it to the 5th of October. You did a 61k ultra.
Yeah, that was in, where was that? That was on the Jurassic Coast. No, sorry, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't the 61k. That was in Cornwall.
Yes.
That was a really good race. 40 miles, point to point. So started in Newquay, finished in St. Ives.
No, I think one of the big reasons I wanted to highlight those two is people are obviously always desperate to get back to the things that they love doing, whether it's a 10k run, a marathon run, ultras, whatever it is. But it's highlighting how long that's took you. So like if we go back and it was 3rd of July, you're 18 months down the line, and the amount of time you've been running, so you've gone from 22 weeks. So that's divide that by 4, so we're 5.5 months into the process. So we're looking at there's a year's worth of running there for you to get back to that, and the amount of volume you've done in that time has earned you the right to do that there and then, and to do everything thereafter. And again, like you touched on earlier, people don't have the patience to earn the right to do these things.
The thing with me, Alex, is I didn't just want to. I probably could have run, let's say after, I don't know, maybe a year, right?
Yeah.
But it's not about doing that one marathon a year after your operation. It's about, for me, in 20 years, still being able to run.
100%.
So I was happy to take my time. Like I said, you're the expert here. Like the same way you wouldn't lecture me on something to do with the military. Yeah. And then I would pay you that respect and not lecture you about physiotherapy because you are the expert. Yeah. So, yeah.
I just think you've done everything right. And I think, again, on screen, if people are watching this, so like the 4th of March, you went to Thailand and you did Muay Thai, and you had that sort of like retreat there, the training block. I remember right back at the beginning, one of the key things was jiu-jitsu as well. Do you remember when you went back to that? Because I couldn't spot it on the timeline that I had.
So I think it was September 2024.
Yeah.
Maybe. So yeah, it was definitely over a year after my, after the operation.
Because that was one of your big goals at the beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And, because I'd literally just started. I've been going for like 3 months. Absolutely love it. I see you got your blue belt the other day, mate. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I am a
and
killer now, so there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of a big deal. I'm a blue belt. So what basically that translates to is I like to roll around with men between my legs.
There's a really funny meme about it's a black guy, I don't know who he is, and he's talking to his friend, and his friend's like trying to convince him to do jiu-jitsu, and he does Muay Thai and striking and things like that, and he's like, what, you want me to roll around sweaty with other men? That's gay.
Yeah,
and it's so funny. It is so funny.
That is 100% what I want you to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, it was, and don't get me wrong, I was nervous about going to that, but again, it's about and it probably helps I'm a little bit older now, but like checking your ego, and if someone's got you in a bad position, mate, just tap. Like,
Exactly.
it's not the World Championships. It's a Thursday. It's a Thursday afternoon in Camberley. Like, no one's winning any money here. But yeah, man, managed to get, and like I said, I love all this stuff, Alex. So, and I knew if I wanted to get back to it, I had to put the work in. So, yeah.
And then 13th of June, talk about the row.
Wow. So this was my second row. So I first rode across the Atlantic from mainland Europe to mainland North America, starting on the 3rd of December 2021, solo unsupported. Ticked off, first person in history to do that. And then thought, once the pain had subsided, once I finished 111 days later, I thought, why not do it again? And the boat that we rescued from the Bahamas, we then shipped that, or drove it, to New York, and then we rode it from New York to the Scilly Isles as a team of 4. Very interesting having done it as a solo and doing it as a team of 4. Yeah, they both had peaks and troughs, pros and cons. It was 56 days, and it was a very good, as a whole, a very good and enjoyable crossing that I got to share with the boys.
And am I right? It was for charity?
Yeah, it was for charity. Raised £107,000 for Head Up, which is a military charity. So myself, I was ex-army, 2 former Royal Marines in Brucey and Natty, and then Adam was a civilian. And yeah, it was, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was challenging. I mean, on day 7, we capsized.
Yeah.
Which is an experience. If you've ever been surfing and chewed up by a big wave, it's something similar to that.
Yeah. You're much further away from the coast, I imagine.
Yeah, except if the boat doesn't self-right, you're really up shit creek without a paddle, or in the middle of an ocean without a boat. Yeah, big monster wave hit us on the side, flipped us 180. Luckily, the boat self-righted because they're sort of designed off old offshore life rafts. Managed to get the boys back on the boat, and then we stayed on parachute anchor for I think another 12 hours. And then we cracked on.
It turns out you're just a bit of an expert in surviving life-threatening situations, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. Maybe once it was funny. Having a not having a go, but my nana tripped over yesterday, and I'm like, go careful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really not one to speak, am I? I'm certainly not practicing what I preach. But yeah, it was awesome, and it was really nice to, at the time. No, I wouldn't say that sort of ticked off my rehab journey, because we're going to talk about what I'm going into next. But it was just a real nice thing to do. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was tough. We were rowing 3 hours on, 3 hours on, 3 hours on, 3 hours off for 56 days. Searing heat at the start when you're in the Gulf Stream, and then some pretty miserable weather as you head a little bit more into the centre of the Atlantic, and then eventually to the Scillies, battling the currents and the tides. So yeah, it was a tough thing, but a real nice segue, I would say. Leaving the military, rode the Atlantic, and then what I would say is the final sign off to say, well, I'm fully recovered now, I would say. But yeah, the next one's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, and obviously just filling in the gap. multiple marathons. You've done London at least once, if not twice, I think.
3 times. Yeah. So,
Since the injury, you've done it
oh
three
no,
times.
once since the injury. How many
Yeah.
marathons have I done since the accident? Standalone marathons, I think I've done 3. Done a half marathon 4, and then I've done some pretty serious ultras this year. So I did in January, did the Arc of Attrition 100 miler. In March, I did a backyard ultra, which I ended up coming joint first. And that went on for 147 miles. And then last month in May, I did the UTS, so the Ultra Trail Snowdonia 100-kilometer race. That took 20 hours. The backyard was 35, and the Arc of Attrition was 29 hours. So yeah, I've done some serious running since the accident.
I'm conscious of time here, and I know you got to get off, but it's like one of the big things that, from a psychological perspective, that I like to instill in how we structure our rehab and the journey is like the mindset shift from being I'm injured, I'm broken, I'm doing rehab, and I'm now training for performance. Yeah. Do you feel like there was a point in time that like you noticed that mindset shift, or was there a particular event or something like that you could attach that to?
Yeah, I would say when I did that, when I did the 60K race in Cornwall, the back end of 2024, ticked off, 60 kilometers, 40 miles. I felt like, right, that is not done. Because I think if you do all these prehab exercises and you implement the lessons that you taught me and moving forward, that's only net positive. 100%. But after that, I was like, yeah, that's like, and I finished the race. I wasn't in bobbins. My left knee wasn't like in excruciating pain. I was like, yeah, you've done well here, Jack. Like, well done.
Nice.
Yeah.
And like in terms of, we did the whole process working together online, and I think obviously you transitioned away from like training with us prior to that or around that time.
Yeah.
How did you find like rehabbing and training? Obviously, we do everything when you're injured. We do all your rehab, physio, and your S&C. How did you find that experience?
Yeah, loved it. I would assume, and I might be wrong here, Alex, the biggest problem you face maybe is how do people go, well, how can he be a physio if he's based in Harrogate?
Yeah.
Like, how could it be online? And what I love, mate, and it makes complete sense to me. I mean, some people maybe aren't as intelligent as me. They don't get it. Very few are. But when you said to me, you said, Jack, I have not got magic healing hands. I am not going to sports massage your ACL back to full strength, your MCL. I'm not going to rub it and put deep heat on it and then it's going to be healed. What's going to fix you is me giving you the knowledge through training and experience and everything you've learned over your career, and you implementing those lessons and carrying out the work yourself. And I was it was like a light bulb moment. I was like, well, oh yeah, of course he's not going to sports massage my bloody ACL back together, my MCL back together. So yeah, I found it super easy, super convenient. As well, even though you're online, I felt we had really good comms, like with yourself and Josh. And then also, I was well aware the Harrogate Centre was always open to me to come and train. It wasn't like it was like, oh no, you're an online client, you can't come here. I was like, message you, and it was like, yeah, come in whenever you want, whenever you're up. So yeah, I highly rate it, mate, and I hope you've seen a few people come to you off like my recommendation, because I always
it's that's massive for us. Like the obviously we put all our effort into different marketing and do social media and do this now and things like that, but there's nothing better from our perspective when someone turns up and they say, oh, Jack recommended us. It's we appreciate that more than saying we appreciate it could ever sort of truly portray, really. So we do. I can only be thankful and grateful for it.
But it's like to me, it's like the least I could do, mate. Like but sometimes the problem with a job that I do a bit of content creation now. People think, oh, he's only saying that because he's been paid. Like, nah, like I would pay what I paid 10 times over. I'm recommending a service that I got the most out of and has allowed me to get back to what I love doing and has given me that zest for life. So yeah, man.
That's amazing, mate.
Up the back. Thank you very much.
No, we appreciate that. So let's bring it to today and the van, which hopefully you're picking up this afternoon.
I know.
Again, I'll let you lead the way. What's the next event that's on the cards, and how can people follow it? And let's give you some airtime to the 30 people that will hopefully listen to this, mate.
Thanks very much. Yes, I am shipping that van you can see on screen to China, and on the 20th of July I will fly to Beijing. We'll meet the van, and myself, the van, and Tommy, my videographer and driver, are going to attempt to be the first person. I'm going to attempt to be the first person ever to run from Beijing to London, 13,000 kilometers, 50k a day. So yeah, it's pretty punchy.
How many days do you think it'll take?
250 days.
Wow.
Yeah. And to give some reference to what Alex was saying about picking the van up. So on Sunday, bearing in mind my van is getting shipped tomorrow, which is Thursday, I'm sure when this will go out. On Sunday, 3 engine warning lights came on. So it's currently in the garage. Fingers crossed I can pick it up this evening and it will all be fixed. And then I'll drive it to Southampton Docks tomorrow and ship it off to China.
Mate, I don't even know how you come up with these ideas. Like what? Like, where have you pulled that from?
Yeah, so it's a pretty crazy. Obviously, I was injured, and at the time, Hardest Geezer was doing his run around Africa, and I was lucky enough to interview him before he went. And I remember just hearing about it. I was inspired, and then I was watching his journey, his run. I was like, "Wow, this is awesome!" And then I was telling a friend about it, George Cruz, ex Saracens and England international.
Yeah.
And we were in the Cat and Mutton in Hackney, and he said to me, I told him this, and he was like, what, you're going to run from Beijing to London? I said, yep, Hardest Geezers, proof of concept. Obviously, I can't run the length of Africa. It's been done. Why not do 2 continents instead of 1? And he was like, you're never going to do that, mate. I think my leg was still in a brace at this point. And he was like, I tell you what, if you do it, his company 4-5 will sponsor it. So that's how it all sort of came about, mate. After, maybe a bit of maybe that ketamine was still running through my veins from the accident, or maybe the morphine from the operation. But I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And to be fair, Alex, you're a little bit to blame as well. If you hadn't said with such confidence, I'll make a comeback, I never would have said it. So.
Well, I'm sure you're going to raise lots of money for charity, I'm guessing. So yeah, you can blame me all you want. But again, this is probably a perfect time to touch on it. How are people going to follow you? So I've put on screen, I think it's at Jack Jarvis Fit.
Yeah, at
for
Jack
Instagram.
Jarvis Fit, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Jack Jarvis on Facebook as well, Twitter.
So Jack Jarvis Fit on YouTube as well, is it?
Yeah, Jack Jarvis Fit, YouTube,
Nice.
Instagram, TikTok, and then Jack Jarvis on Facebook.
Nice. And I would definitely recommend people do that because, like I say, it's mind-blowing what you've achieved to date, but I will be watching with great anticipation to see how that goes, mate. Just to wrap things up, obviously it's been 3 years or just over 3 years since the accident. What are you most proud of, or what are your sort of your 3 biggest wins from the last 3 years?
So the first one, and I say without a shadow of a doubt, coming back from injury, being able to run again, like making a recovery is the thing. I've rode the Atlantic twice. Before my accident, I did a 250k ultra marathon in the desert, come 6th. Like without a shadow of a doubt, my biggest, and the thing that brings me the most joy is rehabbing from that injury, because a lot of people, probably didn't think I could do it. So to do that is the thing I'm most proud of. The second is the row across the Atlantic from New York to the UK. Over £100,000 for a military charity, which is a real big amount of money. And then I'll probably have to go third. My biggest win. It's a toss-up because I was really proud of each of the races this year, but I'll probably go finishing first in that backyard ultra with guys that are now friends, Sam and Ben. 147 miles, 35 hours. There was a point in that race where I didn't think I'd go to 26 hours, but to then go another 9 hours on top of that, yeah. So I'd say coming first in the Backyard Ultra. They're my 3 wins.
I remember I was following it and on Instagram, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, you are obviously struggling. Like,
Yeah.
in terms of, like, I don't know how you felt physically, but you could see, like, your gait was changing and things like that. And I guess that I got really annoyed when they didn't have a winner, because even though you maybe on paper looked the worst, I knew you would have won.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
but just like from a mindset perspective, like, I just knew you would have done, and whether you that bothered about winning and stuff like that, like on your own. But I think it's testament to what you've achieved through the journey and what you will achieve when you run from Beijing to London. So.
Thank you very much, Alex. And lastly, I won't keep saying it, blowing smoke up your arse and the team, but thank you guys. I appreciate everything because I wouldn't be here without you. And it was a pleasure to work with you boys and girls.
I appreciate it, mate. So if you have got to the end of this, I appreciate it. Make sure you head over to Instagram, TikTok, find Jack Jarvis Fit, YouTube. That's where I'll be watching everything. Are you going to be putting regular content out on there?
Yeah. So looking for your shorts, your reels, TikToks, one a day, and then like twice a week, maybe once a week, YouTube video. So yeah, there'll be plenty of content for people to follow along, and yeah, just get behind the journey.
And if people want to support and donate, it'll all be on those channels.
Yeah, so
it's the easiest way.
Got my GiveStar page. If you go on GiveStar, which is a similar fundraising platform, the same as Just Giving, Jack Jarvis, and I think I'm the only Jack Jarvis on there. You can donate. I'm raising money in memory of my granddad who passed away of a brain tumour. Hoping to raise £100,000. Yeah, should be good.
Awesome, mate. No, thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming on, and I'm really excited to get the feedback for this.
No, thank you so much, Alex. Appreciate it, mate. Have a great day.
So, as promised, it is one of the craziest mechanisms that I've ever heard. As I said, there's 2. One of them involved, well, no, I'm not going to share that one because the second one I will get them on at some point. But Jack's mechanism, falling at 120 miles per hour from however many thousands of feet from the sky, to actually have the moment of clarity or the moment of deliberate effort to actually free himself and then land and then deal with everything as he did, just goes to show the mindset that he has developed and what has been instilled in him from his past experiences in the military and probably his life long before that. But there are so many lessons that someone should take away who has listened to that and is going through a similar journey, that one, it is possible, no matter how catastrophic, how impactful that an injury may seem, it is possible to get back to doing the things that you love doing and doing them well and doing them for a long time. And a huge part of that is around how you approach things from a mindset perspective, how you show up consistently, the intent and the effort that you put into every single day, every single exercise, and just looking for those small marginal gains which add up over time, compound, and do create a transformative or a transformatory, I don't know if either of those are the correct word, but a life-changing set of results that allows you to do ridiculous things going forward into the future. So if it is something or a journey that you're on and you want support, in the description down below there is a link to a type form. The type form will give me go through 5 questions with you and give me some background. From there I can establish whether you are someone that we can help, especially someone that we can help via our online services and the Pro Recovery and Performance Plan. But hit that link. This form will take you 2 minutes. We will personally reach out and we'll guide you along the journey, hold your hand and make sure you're crystal clear on exactly each step of what you need to do. But otherwise, I hope you did enjoy the podcast. Make sure you do all the support stuff, like, share, subscribe. Every single person here is really appreciated. And make sure you head over to Jack Jarvis Fit on Instagram, support his journey, donate to his cause. It's for a fantastic cause, and just show him all the love that he deserves after an incredible transformation and journey getting back to his best and beyond.